Hello students, today we'll be starting with the new chapter, that is chapter number 2, properties of fluid. Now for fluid, you might have studied something about fluid in your lower grades. What is mean by fluids? The substance or material which flows. Now we will try to understand what do you mean by flow. Okay, flow means what actually? Take for example this solid block is there. Whenever this solid block is moving from point A to point B, this solid block of mass m is moving from point A to point B. As well as when this beaker containing water has been spilled, has been poured, we can also see this water flowing. We can also say this mass also flowing. Okay, whether this in both of this situation, whether flowing is happening or not, let us find it. If you see this mass A, body A, which is having masses 1, 2, 3, 4, we are assuming that there are n numbers of particles inside it, and each particle is having some sort of mass. We are naming the first particle as 1, second particle as 2, third particle as 3, fourth particle as 4, and fifth particle as 5. So whenever this mass of body A is moving from point A to point B, whenever this body of mass m is moving from point A to point B, we can see this particles is not crossing each other. Over here arrangement was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After moving to point B also, this arrangement is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only. So what does it states us? This states us that their position is fixed. Every particle is having fixed position. So whenever the particle is having fixed position, we say that they are not flowing. So let us proceed to the next one. If we consider this liquid, which is there in this container, whenever this container or this beaker is been poured, previous arrangement was 1, 2, 3, 4, but after going down, spilling down, what will happen? Their arrangements will vanish. Means one can go behind, two can come forward. This arrangement is random. One cannot predict that this which particle will move in front, because they are not having any sort of arrangements in it, or there is no fixed position. As there is no fixed position, so this type of motion is called as a flow. What is this called? This is called as a flow. Now we will see what is mean by fluids. In this chapter we will see there are different types of fluids as well. So when we are walking on the street, what type of motion we are doing? We are moving, or it is called as a movement. Okay, because whenever we will be moving, our leg will be in the leg only, as well as our hand will be above. It will not happen that our leg will be replaced by our hand and hand will be replaced by a leg, because every solid is having a fixed position. But whenever the gas knob has been turned on, you can see it is flowing, because there is no movement, there is no fixed position. Particle A can move forward of particle B as well as randomly, or it can also happen. So fluids are basically liquids as well as gases. These two are comprising of fluids, and in your syllabus also we will be studying about liquid and gases. In this chapter we will be studying properties of fluid, or properties of liquid we will be stretching. And for gases we are having one chapter separately, that is called as a kinetic theory of gases. In that chapter we will be studying this. There is one more fluid which is called as a plasma. This is the fourth state of matter. We have already studied solid, liquid, gases in our school days, but there is one more state of matter, that is plasma. Plasma means what? If we are having a container which is heated at a very large temperature, okay, large temperature, take for example 1000 degrees Celsius, and if we go on putting each and everything which is around us, take for example pen, rubber, chair, everything, then what will happen? It will get melted, and due to melting, what will happen? Electrons, protons, ions, and all of them will be mixing in a random manner. So whenever electron, proton, neutron and ions which are present are mixing with each other at a random manner, plasma state has been generated. Okay, but we are having some sort of solids, okay, which are also considered as fluids. But in some textbooks it has been given that solids cannot be fluids. Whenever they are talking about solids cannot be fluid, they are considering solids as a rigid body. Why they are considering solid as a rigid body? Because rigid body is having fixed shape and size. Rigid body, take for example, this square is a fixed shape and size. No matter how much force you will apply, this rigid body will be rigid only. It will not change its shape and size. Okay, as a rigid body's shape and size cannot be changed. But there are some solids. There are some solids which can be considered as a fluid. For example, toothpaste. If you just try to bring out the toothpaste comes out in a random manner. Nobody can tell that particle A, which is just near the point from where the fluid comes out, will be coming first. Okay. Next one is flower dog. You might have done this, known this. Chewing gum. Whenever you are eating chewing gum, it is also a solid, but it is a fluid. Next one is molten lava. You might have seen in Discovery Channel as well. But in this chapter, we will be only studying about liquids only, and about kinetic theory of gases, or gases we will be studying in kinetic theory of gases. That is another chapter. So, first of all, we will be considering fluid as an ideal fluid. Ideal fluid means following all the laws. Okay. First characteristic is that it is incompressible. Incompressible means what? If this is a syringe, if we are just putting our finger at the nozzle over here, okay, and if you try to push it, if you try to push this piston, you will see that this piston will not be able to go inside. Why? Because inside this, even if it is empty, there is air inside it, and air is incompressible. So we are considering ideal fluid. Ideal fluid means what? It cannot be compressed. Similarly, over here piston is there. If we try to push this piston, you will see that this piston will not be able to move. Why? Because as we are applying force which is perpendicular, we are applying force which is perpendicular. So over here it is incompressible. As it is incompressible, so density will always be remaining same. If we are assuming mass of this gas or a liquid which is there, that is 10 kg, and volume is 10 meters cube, then we are knowing that density is mass upon volume. So density is 10 upon 10. So density of this liquid will be 1 kg per meter cube. Okay, so density will not be changing as it is incompressible. It cannot be compressed. Next one, it is irrotational. Irrotational. Take for example, water is flowing. Water is flowing from the surface, and if we are putting any sort of basketball or anything, the basketball can rotate in this direction, but it shouldn't rotate along its own axis. Like we have already studied in the last chapter, rotation along its own axis shouldn't be there. Okay, means there should be no turbulence. There should be no turbulence. Third characteristic is that ideal fluid should be non-viscous. Non-viscous, viscous means what? It is resistance to flow. Resistance to flow means what? It will not flow easily. It will not flow easily. Viscous means what? It will not flow easily. If we consider two types of liquid, one is water, another one is honey. If you pour water over this inclined plane, you will see that water will come faster down. But if you pour honey through this inclined plane, you will see that honey will take longer time to come down. Means what? It is a resistance to flow. It is a resistance to flow. But over here, what is the ideal characteristics? It is a non-viscous. Non-viscous means what? It shouldn't be resistance to flow. So water we are considering as ideal fluid over here. Are you able to understand? Over here we are considering non-viscous. Non-viscous means what? Non-resistance. So water is having non-resistance, or water flows very easily. So over here we are considering water as a viscous, non-viscous liquid. That's what has been written over here. Non-viscous, non-opposition, which cannot be flowed easily. So we are considering non-viscous liquid. Next one, velocity is constant at every point. If we consider this liquid which is stationary over here, naturally velocity will be constant. Okay, because this water is stationary. Now we will see general properties of fluid. General properties means what? Which is applicable to ideal fluid as well as real fluid. Okay, which is applicable to ideal fluid as well as real fluid. Fluid cannot withstand tangential stress on them. Tangential stress means what? Take for example, this is a object, mass m. We are applying tangential force. we are applying tangential force. Okay, this is a liquid which is kept in this beaker. If we are applying tangential force, what will happen? This beaker will be taking this direction, it will be going in this direction. As will go in this direction, the water which is there inside, it will start spilling off. So it cannot withstand. Okay, whenever tangential force has been applied, it will the water will be flowing down. Okay, so fluid cannot resist tangential force as it starts flowing. Like over here it has happened. As soon as we are applying tangential force to this beaker, the water has started flowing. It is offering very low resistance to the shearing stress. Shearing stress, tangential force. Uh, See, tangential force is also called tangential stress. This all are the same names, whatever they are denoting. Tangential force, you just have to understand the force which is applied tangentially or parallelly. Take for example, this is a surface. We are applying one force which is tangentially or parallelly. These two are parallel, so we are applying tangential force. Okay. Next one. Okay, fluid does not has its own shape. Fluid, we are knowing that fluid is not having its own shape, it takes the shape of the container. So modulus of rigidity is equals to 0. Modulus of rigidity is equals to 0. Now let us understand what is meant by modulus of rigidity. You might have studied this modulus of rigidity in your 11th grade in elasticity chapter. It is basically related to shape. Okay. Now shear force or tangential force. Tangential force means what? It changes the shape of the body. Tangential force means what? It changes the shape of the body. Now tangential force, what is the work of the tangential force? To change the shape of the body. If we are applying tangential force, what will happen? It will change the shape of the body. Now modulus of rigidity, what does it tells us? It is a property which tells us that how much opposition it is provided for the changing of the shape. If we are providing lot of opposition, then what will happen? Then modulus of rigidity will be more. Modulus of rigidity will be more. You might have studied, or if you take any of the solid substance, its modulus of rigidity is maximum because its opposition is maximum. If we take diamond, its modulus of rigidity is maximum because diamond being a carbon compound, its shape cannot be changed easily. Okay, so modulus of rigidity is actually what? It is the opposition offered by the body to change its shape. Are you able to understand? Higher the modulus of rigidity means it is very difficult to change the shape of the body. Lower modulus of rigidity means what? It is very easy to change the shape of the body. But as a fluid, but we are considering a fluid which is not having any shape. We are considering a fluid which is not having any shape, and it takes the shape of the container. What does it takes? It takes the shape of the container. As it takes the shape of the container means what? It is not having any opposition to the change of shape. It is not having any opposition to the change of shape. So therefore modulus of rigidity is equal to 0 in case of a fluid, in case of a liquid. I hope that everybody has understood this one. Last, fluids opposes the perpendicular force on it. Fluid opposes the perpendicular forces on it. Take for example, this is a beaker and this is a piston which has been applied. So whenever we will be applying perpendicular force, okay, then fluid will oppose it by providing another force which will be opposite to it. Force which has been provided from this end, we are applying perpendicular force which are not able to compress. We are applying this force but we are not able to compress it. We are applying perpendicular force but we are not able to compress it. Why? Because there is an opposition offered by the fluid. There is some sort of opposition offered by the fluid. Okay, so therefore we will not be able to compress this. But if we apply tangential force, tangential force will not be getting opposed. Tangential force will be getting held. So therefore this liquid which is there, which will be spilling off. We are applying force over here, but we will not be able to compress this piston. But if we apply tangential force, what will happen? This piston will, this beaker will spill down. This beaker will spill down, and all the liquid which is there, which will be moving down or falling down, and will be start flowing. Now we will understand what is meant by pressure. Many of you might be knowing what is pressure, but then also let us understand. Pressure is what? It is a perpendicular force. Pressure is what? It is a perpendicular force. If this is a surface of area, then pressure is a perpendicular force. Means whenever the force is applied in a perpendicular manner, that is called as a pressure. Perpendicular force is also called thrust per unit area. Suppose we want to apply pressure on the surface of area A. This is the surface of area A. If we want to apply pressure, okay, then these are three situations: situation A, situation B, situation C. Situation A, we are applying force in this manner. Situation B, we are applying force in this manner. Situation C, we are applying force in this manner. So pressure in case of A, we can find out directly because it is already perpendicular. You can see this is already perpendicular. Force vector is already perpendicular to the area, so directly pressure at A can be founded out. That is force perpendicular upon A, as it is in case of A, force is perpendicular to area A. But in case of B and C, we cannot consider directly F. We cannot directly consider F because in B and C, force is not perpendicular. Force is having some sort of angle. So therefore we will not be considering. For that, what we will be doing, we will be taking component, parallel component and horizontal component of this vector. Force vector, we will be finding out parallel component as well as horizontal component. Parallel component means what? This is parallel to this one, so therefore we are finding parallel component which is parallel to the surface, which is parallel to this area. And one more, we will be finding perpendicular component which will be perpendicular to this one. So pressure at B will be given as perpendicular component of force. This is a perpendicular component of force. So force at B, pressure at B will be given as perpendicular component of force upon magnitude of area. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that this A is magnitude of area. Means even if area's value is negative, we will be considering positive over here. Similarly, over here, this vector was in this direction. Again, we will be finding two component, parallel component of this area and perpendicular component of this area. So pressure at C can be given as perpendicular component of force upon a magnitude of area. Magnitude of area means what? This is a sign of magnitude. Means what? Even if it is negative, we are supposed to take positive only. Now pressure formula is what? Perpendicular force upon area. Force, what is the unit of force? Newton. And area is meter square. So its SI unit is Newton per meter square. It can also be represented as Pascal, PA, Pascal. Similarly, CGS unit, Newton CGS unit is dyne and meters CGS unit is centimeter. So CGS unit of pressure is dyne per centimeter square. So dimension of pressure is F upon A. Pressure is force upon area. Force can be represented as mass into area. We want to find out the dimensions. So what we are doing, we are splitting it. Pressure can be represented as force upon area. Force is what? Mass into acceleration. So mass dimension is what? M1. Acceleration's formula is what? What is the formula for acceleration? Acceleration is length upon time square, or it can be represented as acceleration velocity upon time. So velocity can be represented as length. Velocity is SI unit is velocity, SI unit is length upon time, and time is again one more time. So as soon as this time goes in the denominator, we will be getting L upon T square. So area acceleration is L upon T square. But T square, if it goes in the numerator, it is in the denominator. If it goes in the numerator, then what will happen? It will be T raised to minus 1. And L is already there. So it is L minus 1, L plus 1, T minus 2, as it is in the denominator. As it moves to the numerator, it will become minus 2. So M1, L1, T minus 2. But over here in the denominator, it is L2. After it goes in the numerator, it will become L minus 2. And over here numerator already is there plus 1. So minus 2 plus 1 will be getting minus 1. So M1, L minus 2, T minus 2. This is the dimension of pressure. And you should be knowing that pressure is a scalar quantity. As per your syllabus, pressure is a scalar quantity. But force is a vector quantity. As force is a vector quantity, so direction is been denoted. Whereas pressure is a scalar quantity, so we are not supposed to denote any sort of directions. Now we will solve one numerical. A man weight 80 kg. A man is weighing 80 kg. How much pressure will be exerted on the ground when he is lying down? A man is there whose weight is 80 kg. When this person is lying down, He's taking an area of 0.8 meter square, and when he's standing, his 1 foot area has been given. His 1 foot area has been given, that is 80 centimeter, 80 centimeter square. Over here, weight has been given as 80 kgf. 80 kgf. You should be knowing, whenever we have to convert kgf into Newton. See, weight has been given in Newton. So kgf will not do. We have to convert kgf in Newton, and 1 kgf is 10 Newton. So for converting kgf to Newton, we have to multiply by 10. So force is equals to weight, that has been given as 80 kgf. So 80 kgf we have converted into Newton by multiplying by 10. Okay, so 80 into 10 Newton. Area when the person is lying, that is 0.6 meters square. So we will be finding first of all area, pressure of lying. First of all, pressure of lying is equals to force upon area. Force is 80 into 10 upon 0.6. Over here 2 zeros were there, 1 and 2. So what I have done, I have added one more 0 over here. So I have written 8 into 10 raised to 2. Over here it was 0.6. As it was 0.6, I have taken out the decimal and written 6 into 10 raised to minus 1. Now what I have done, this 10 raised to minus 1 is in the denominator. I have taken this minus 1 and taken to the numerator. So it has become 10 raised to 2 plus 1. So it is 8 into 10 raised to 3 upon 6. So 8 upon 3, if you divide by 2, 2 4s are 8, 2 3s are 12. So you will be getting 4 upon 3. After solving 4 upon 3, you will be getting as 1.33, and over here 10 raised to 3 Pascal. Now this person is standing. In the second case, what they have said, when the person is standing in 1 foot, area has been given, but the man will be standing with both his foots. So we have to multiply 80 into 2. So we will be multiplying 80 into 2. Over here it is what, centimeter. We cannot take centimeter square directly. We have to convert centimeter into meter, and 1 centimeter is 10 raised to minus 2 meter. 1 centimeter is 10 raised to minus 2 meter. So 1 centimeter square will be 10 raised to minus 2 whole square. So it will be 10 raised to minus 4. I will explain. 1 centimeter is 10 raised to minus 2 meter. So centimeter square will be square of this one as well. Minus 2 into 2, minus 2 into 2 is what? Minus 4. So I am writing over here 10 raised to minus 4. 80 into 10 raised to minus 4. This is the area of 1 foot. So area of 2 foot will be 2 into 80 into 10 raised to minus 4. This is minus 4. Okay. This 80 and this 80 will get cancelled. This minus 4, after it goes in the numerator, it is in the denominator. After it moves to the numerator, it will be plus 4, and 1 is already there. Nothing is there means 1 is there. So it will be 1 plus 4. 1 plus 4 means what? 5. And 1 upon 2. 1 upon 2 can be written as 0.5 into 10 raised to 5. 0.2 into 10 raised to 5. Sorry. 1 upon 2 into 10 raised to 5. So it can be 1 upon 2 can be written as 0.5 into 10 raised to 5. We can take one decimal over here. So we will be getting 5 into 10 raised to 4. यहाँ से एक decimal निकाल दिया 10 raised to में, और यहाँ से decimal हटा लिया. So we will be getting 5 into 10 raised to 4 Pascal. So you can see that whenever the person is standing, pressure is more. And whenever the person was lying, the pressure is less. So what does this state says? Whenever the area decreases, area was decreasing in this case. Whenever the area decreases, pressure increases. Okay. For this only you can see the nail is having pointed edges. Why the nail is having pointed edges? Because area is very least, so pressure is maximum. So we will understand pressure again. What is pressure actually? Pressure is what fluid is exerting. Fluid exerts thrust. Fluid is exerting thrust. Thrust means what? It is exerting perpendicular force on all the walls of the container. You can see this container which is having fluid inside it. So fluid will be exerting perpendicular force in all the sides. So this fluid has been generalized over here, and this is the side of the container which has been drawn. You can see fluid is exerting thrust or perpendicular force on all the sides of the container, from over here, and there is rebounding force from the container as well. There is rebounding force which has been exerted by the container as well. So this side arrow is denoting the rebounding force, and this arrow is denoting the thrust which has been exerted by the fluid. Thrust means what? Perpendicular force. Fluid is exerting perpendicular force on all the direction. On all the direction, fluid is exerting perpendicular force. So fluid is exerting perpendicular force on the wall of the container. Now variation of pressure. We will see some sort of points of the variation of pressure. Try to understand. Pressure increases in the net downward direction. Net downward direction means what? As we are moving in the downward direction, pressure goes on increasing. If we are considering only topmost layer, pressure will be minimum over here. As we are moving from year to year, or we can also say as we are moving from free surface to the depth, pressure goes on increasing. You can imagine this dahi handi. Okay, this person who is sitting at the top will be not having any pressure. But the person who is over here, there will be lot of pressure due to all of them. Okay, more number of persons at the top of them, more amount of pressure will be felt by them. Okay, so or in short, as we move downwards, pressure goes on increasing. Why pressure goes on increasing? Because more numbers of layers of air are above us. More numbers of layers of air. You can see this. There are more numbers of layers above us. You can imagine the same. We are sitting over here, but we are not able to feel any sort of pressure. Okay, why we are not able to feel? Because our body is adequated to it or used to it. Pressure remains constant in a direction perpendicular in a net downward direction. Pressure, just 1 minute. Pressure remains constant in a net direction in a net downward direction. Means what? Whenever we are considering pressure remains constant, this is the downward direction, this is the downward pressure remains constant. See, this is the downward direction, so pressure is remaining constant at a direction perpendicular. So whenever we will be moving, take for example, these are different layers. Okay, these are different layers. If we are considering movement from one layer, within the layers only, pressure is remaining constant. Similarly over here, if we are moving along this layer only, pressure will be remaining constant. If we are moving at this layer only, pressure will be remaining constant. So this is what? This is perpendicular to the direction in downward direction. Okay, so if we are moving upwards, what will happen? Pressure will decrease. Whereas if we are moving downwards, what will happen? Pressure will increase. But if we are moving within the same layer, अगर हम लोग सेम लेयर में ही घूमेंगे, then the pressure will be remaining same. So that's why whenever we are moving at the surface of the ground, the pressure is remaining the same. Okay, pressure is remaining the same, or pressure remains same at a horizontal level. This is a horizontal level. So whenever we will be moving at the same horizontal level, pressure will remaining the same. Free surface is always perpendicular to the net downwards. This is a free surface. Take for example, this is a beaker. ठीक है, ये beaker है. Okay, this is just 1 minute. Let me rub this. Okay, this is a free surface. Okay, and this is our downward surface. So this is a surface which is called as a free surface. Free surface is always perpendicular to the downward surface. This is a free surface, and free surface is always perpendicular to this downward surface. You can see this. This is a perpendicular. This is a free surface which is perpendicular to the downward force. This is a downward force. Downward force is going in the downward direction. Downward force is going in the downward direction, and free surface is perpendicular to it. This is a downward force which is perpendicular, which is going in the downward direction, and this is a free surface. So free surface is always perpendicular to the downward force. Free surface is always perpendicular to the downward force. This is for force, and this is what is denoting free surface. Okay. Now let's talk about something about atmospheric pressure. What is meant by atmosphere basically? Atmosphere is constituent of different gases. Nitrogen is having maximum concentration in it. After that is oxygen, which we are breathing in, followed by all other gases. Okay, if we go inside a swimming pool, If we are going inside a swimming pool, take for example, you are going inside a swimming pool, there is a force exerted by the liquid on you. There is a force exerted on the liquid by you, and this force is a perpendicular force. This force is a perpendicular force, means it is acting on you in all direction, perpendicular to it. Like we have already studied, pressure exerted by the fluid is perpendicular force. So pressure will be exerted by the fluid and it will be perpendicular force. But if we come outside the liquid, if we come outside a swimming pool, then the pressure will be exerted by the air. As we are already knowing, we are surrounded by air, okay, and air is also exerting pressure on us. Air is exerting tremendous pressure on us, but we are not able to feel it. We are not able to feel it. Why? Because we are used to it. We are used to it. Whatever pressure which is exerted by air, that is in the range of 10 raised to 5 Pascal. 10 raised to 5 Pascal, it is a huge pressure. Okay. When we will be able to feel it? When we will be going to the higher altitude. As we will be moving to the mountain tops or anything for trekking purpose, we can see, or we will not be having enough of oxygen present in that case. As oxygen is not there, we will not be able to breathe easily. Okay. So what is atmospheric pressure? Pressure exerted by the weight of air. Pressure which is exerted by the weight of air on us, it is called as atmospheric pressure. Okay. We are sitting over here, pressure is exerted by the air on us also. Okay. This is called as atmospheric pressure. Now, atmospheric pressure is formula is the same. Force upon area. Force is what? Perpendicular force. If we are assuming there is a weight kept at our top, at our head, then we will be moving with the pressure. The pressure will be the mass of the object which is placed at our head. Now imagine there is tremendous layer of air above us. Tremendous layer of air above us. So pressure will be felt by us also due to summation of all the air layers. Addition of all the layers which is there at the top of our head. 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer. More the layers of air above us, more the pressure will be there. So we can assume this as a liquid column. We can assume this as a liquid column. Liquid column is having mass m. Liquid column is having mass m, and g is the acceleration due to gravity which is felt in the downward direction. So pressure's formula is what? F upon a. So F can be written as m. M is the mass of the air which is above us, and g is the acceleration due to gravity. So pressure or atmospheric pressure can be given as mg air upon area of our head. Whatever area of our head is, that is considered. So pressure or atmospheric pressure, it is mg of air column upon area of head. This is a generalized formula. Let's proceed. We will be finding the liquid pressure due to liquid column. Pressure due to liquid column we will be finding out. The derivation which is given in your textbook is quite huge, so don't follow that. Kindly follow this derivation only. Okay. For finding the pressure difference at a different point, P1 and P2. Okay. This is a point P1 and this is a point P2. Okay. We have to find pressure difference at these 2 points. Okay. As we are knowing, whenever we are moving from one point to other point, due to this difference of depth, pressure will also increase. Why it is increasing, that we will be proving over here. Okay. So fluid exerts thrust, like we have already studied. There is a force acting on it which will be in downward direction, and mg will be also in downward direction. We are assuming this cylinder which is a water particle, which is made up of water particle only. Okay. We are assuming this cylinder which is made up of water particle. So there is a force exerted by the cylinder. At this top edge of the cylinder, force will be exerted that will be in downward direction, and the mass of this particle will be in downward direction only. Similarly, force will be exerted at the bottom edge of the cylinder, and its force will be directed in the upward direction. So according to this arrow, we can form an equation, that is F1 plus mg is equals to F2. F1 is a perpendicular force, F1 is downward direction, mg is also in downward direction. The arrow is a direction of the force and not for the pressure, and it has been denoted by the arrow because force is a vector quantity. Okay. So it depends upon direction. So depending upon that, we can find out F1 is equal to mg F2. But what we are knowing, pressure is equal to what? Force upon area. Pressure is what? Force upon area. So Fp1 can be written as F1 upon A. So F1 can be written as what? P1 A. Similarly, F2 can be written as what? P2 A. You will see that area of this beaker or the cylinder is same. So area at this end will be the area at this end as well. So area will be same. Okay. So I have written in place of F1 as P1A. In place of F1 I have written P1A plus mg, and in place of F2 I have written P2A. Density. Density. We are knowing that density is mass upon volume. So mass can be written as what? Density into volume. Volume formula is what? Length into breadth into height. Length into breadth can be written as area. So mass can be written as density into area into height. Mass can be written as what? In this formula mass can be written as what? Density into area into height into g. G was already over here, so g is written as it is. Area and area can be getting cancelled. So P1 plus rho gh is equals to P2. We can take this P2, we can take this P1 on this side. It is plus over here. After moving over here, it will become negative. So P2 minus P1 is equal to rho hg. So P2 minus P1 can be written as rho hg. Over here P2 is greater than P1. Okay, P2 is greater than P1. Why we are telling this one? Because we have seen that P2 or point 2 was at as a greater depth. As it was at a greater depth, so pressure at this point will be greater. So P2 minus P1. So P2 is greater distance from the free surface. Now in this equation 1, previously what was happening? Cylinder was at some surface below the liquid. Now if we take this surface at this end, at this surface of the liquid only, then P1 can be replaced by P atmospheric pressure, whatever the pressure exerted by the atmosphere, and P2 can be replaced as P. P1 has been replaced by P atmospheric pressure and P2 can be replaced as P in this equation. So what we'll be getting? P minus P atmospheric pressure is equals to rho hg. Now rho hg or rho gh is called as a gauge pressure. What is it called? Gauge pressure. Okay, gauge pressure. And we can also take this, which is P atmospheric, which is negative over here. We can take this term over here. So what will we be getting? P is equals to P atmospheric. Just 1 minute. So what we'll be getting? P is equals to P atmospheric plus rho hg. What is P over here? P is called absolute pressure. What is called? Absolute pressure or true pressure or true pressure. If we are over here, then our true pressure can be given with the help of this formula. Let us try to find it out. Suppose we are at this end. We are at this inside the beaker or inside a pool. We are standing inside a pool. There is a liquid at the top of our head and there is atmospheric pressure outside the liquid. And this is a liquid pressure above our head. There is a liquid as well. Whatever liquid is there, that will be also exerting pressure on us, as well as the atmospheric pressure will also be exerting pressure on us. So total pressure on us can be given as P atmospheric plus P liquid. And whenever we are considering gauge pressure, we will not be considering P atmospheric. Whenever we will be considering gauge pressure, we will not be considering P atmospheric. Okay. So pressure due to liquid only can be given as liquid pressure only, and liquid pressure's formula is what? Rho hg. Liquid pressure formula is what? Rho hg. Pressure due to liquid or liquid due to fluid or only due to fluid. And absolute pressure, like we have already stated. So what does gauge pressure tells us? Gauge pressure tells us the pressure due to fluid only or liquid only. Gauge pressure tells us the pressure due to fluid only or liquid only. Now there are some special conditions. if we are knowing that P2 minus P1, what is P2 minus P1? This is 1, this is 2. What is P2 minus P1 tells us? The pressure difference between these 2 points, 1 and 2. Okay, it means the pressure difference between 2 points. Now if H is equal to 0, if height is only equal to 0, what does it state us? If height is equal to 0, this whole equation will be equal to 0. As this whole equation is equal to 0, we can take P2, P1 over here. So what we'll be getting? P1 is equal to P2. If height is only the same, if we are moving along the same layer, then what will happen? Then the pressure difference will not be there. As pressure difference will not be there, so each and every point will be having the same pressure. Now, second condition, if acceleration due to gravity is equal to 0. Acceleration due to gravity is equal to 0 means what? There will be no downward force acting on us. As there will be no downward force, if we consider previous equation, what was our previous equation? P2 minus P1 is equals to rho GH. If G is only equal to 0, then this whole will be equal to 0. As this whole equal to 0, again what will be getting? P1 is equal to P2. It means that, what does it mean? Take for example, this is a beaker. It is having different layers. Then each and every particle which is there will be having the same pressure. Each and every particle, although they are having certain height, they will be having same pressure. Why? Because the layers will not be attracted in a downward direction. As there is no gravity, what will happen? The layers will not be attracted in the downward direction. Okay, so the pressure will be remaining the same. The gravity is not there, so the upper layer will not exert any sort of pressure in the bottom layer. This is the upper layer. This upper layer will not exert any sort of pressure in the downward layer. So what will happen? Pressure difference will not be there. So pressure will be same at each and every layers. Okay. Now we are considering that fluid is at rest. What we are considering that fluid is at rest. So if we go on increasing the pressure at any point, pressure will increase at every point. We are assuming that pressure at each and every point is same. As gravity is not there, pressure at each and every point is 5 Pascal, over here also 5 Pascal, everywhere the pressure is 5 Pascal. If we are increasing the pressure by 1 Pascal at the topmost layer, then what will happen? This ultimately the pressure at the topmost layer will be 6 Pascal. This 6 Pascal will be uniformly distributed. Means it will move from year to year. Ultimately the pressure at this end will be coming to 6 Pascal. Okay. Over here why we are studying this? In order to understand the Pascal's law. Okay. But over here what we are assuming? We are assuming the gravity is constant. But in reality, while studying Pascal's law, we will not be assuming gravity as constant. So let us study by varying the gravity. Over here we are assuming that we are taking into consideration that gravity is there. Okay, so pressure at the first layer is only due to atmospheric pressure. Pressure at the second layer is due to the pressure at the first layer plus atmospheric pressure. Similarly, as we are moving from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer, pressure is going on increasing. You can see this, pressure is going on increasing. Okay, so as we move from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer, pressure is increasing. Whereas if we move from the bottommost layer to the topmost layer, pressure will reduce. Okay. Now try to understand this one. At the topmost layer, the pressure is 6 Pascal, 7 Pascal, 8 Pascal, 9 Pascal, 10 Pascal, 11 Pascal, 12 Pascal, 13 Pascal. Okay. Now we increase or insert some sort of pressure at the topmost layer by 1 Pascal. Previously it was 6 Pascal. 6 plus 1, what will be getting? 7 Pascal, which will be there in the topmost layer. As the topmost layer pressure is 7 Pascal now, as the topmost layer is having 7 Pascal now, it has increased by 1 Pascal. So this 1 Pascal will be uniformly distributed. This 1 Pascal will move from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer. So therefore the pressure difference now will be 7 Pascal, 8 Pascal, 9 Pascal, 10 Pascal, 11 Pascal, 12 Pascal. It will go on up till the bottommost layer, that will be 14 Pascal. Okay, so what does it state us? That whatever pressure difference it has been given at any of the layers will be uniformly distributed, undiminished. Undiminished means what? It will never vanish. It will move from one end to other end. So Pascal's law states us that the pressure exerted anywhere in a confined liquid, anywhere in a confined means what? It is fully covered with liquid, is transmitted equally. It is transmitted equally and undiminished in all direction throughout the liquid. Equally in all direction. We were transmitting the pressure from one end, from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer. It was transmitting equally, undiminished. Undiminished means what? It was not getting faded away or anything. It was uniformly transmitted from one end to other end. Okay. Thank you.